YouTube. Andrew Miller, Tarik LaCour from Hook'emHeadlines.com. We're coming back at y'all today with kind of an overarching look and preview for fall camp. We're recording this on the night of August 1st, so we are less than 24 hours away as of right now from the start of fall camp. I really think that this fall camp's just going to fly by. I'll go ahead and say that. This offseason, it felt pretty short for me just because with the transfer portal, with recruiting nowadays, at least for me, it feels like kind of the grind never stops. We still got a lot of recruiting, as we mentioned off camera. Colin Simmons just announced that the date of his announcement will be announced tomorrow. So commitment day coming tomorrow from Colin Simmons. Texas is in a pretty good spot for him. Am I going to say that this is a slam dunk? Absolutely not. But I think if he's announcing his announcement date tomorrow and Texas still feels good about where they're at coming out of the LSU visit, you got to feel good as a Texas fan. Anyway, let's kind of get back to fall camp here. We're going to talk some depth chart stuff, some of the bigger storylines that we have heading into fall camp, some of the updates from the coach press conferences today. Before I get into everything, though, I haven't really mentioned like a thank you to all of you that subscribe, watch a lot of these shows. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. This channel's seen pretty good growth and engagement in the last year or so. And honestly, when we were starting this last fall, I didn't think by the beginning of the second season we'd be hitting 1,000 subscribers. So thank y'all to y'all that have subscribed, and if you haven't already, definitely hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 1,000 before the season starts. That'll be a big milestone for us. And thank you to Nick and Steven as well. Did some nice collaboration videos here the last couple of weeks. Got some good content out there as well, helping grow and support the channel there. Tarik, I guess I'll start here. We got some positive injury updates from Sarkin, Banks, Flood, PK, 4 coaches that spoke today during the press conference. First, I did an article on the site about it just because I've been kind of trying to follow this the entire way, keep you all updated. Isaiah Nayor, sounds like he is fully cleared for fall camp. That's what Sark said. Sark also mentioned that he was looking good. Doing running drills, conditioning, late in the rehab process and during summer workouts, kind of follows the sentiment we heard from various reports for the last few months. Man, this is big, getting Isaiah Nayor in the mix. Sark also mentioned that he's looking to run with a top group of 4 or 5 wide receivers in live game action this fall. I wrote in my article, I assumed that Nayor is part of that group. So that is a big one. Do you have anything you wanted to say on Nayor?
I think that Isaiah Nayor may be the most talented wide receiver at Texas right now. A.D. Mitchell, probably the most polished in some ways, but in some ways the most polished and most to prove, because Worthy, we know what he can do. The freshman year wasn't a fluke. The fact that Worthy did as much as he did with what we know now shows you just how far he can go. And also, I think now that he has Nayor, Mitchell, a Sanders that's going to be more involved in the offense, as well as Jordan Whittington in the slot, I think you can use Worthy in the ways that he's supposed to be used, which is more the mid-range and then taking off rather than just like the deep shot guy all the time. I mean, you'll still use him on deep shots. This has got to be his year where he proves he's like, yeah, I can be a Devonta Smith light.
Okay.
Light, no pun intended.
Yeah.
I mean, Smitty's not big. I mean, as far as he's wiry, but but Worthy's smaller than that. So
he is. Yeah.
Although he's just as tall. So
yeah. I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. Maybe a little pushback on Nayor being the most talented. He might be. This is a really, really talented wide receiver room. We'll see this season who is the most talented. I know we talked about it.
I mean, remember he's all everyone was talking about last fall until that scrimmage when he went down. Everybody here's the thing. It's like this. If you hear the same thing from every site, it's because it's kind of consensus. This is what's happening, and every site was saying Nair is the guy.
We can revert back to this. One of the questions I was going to have at the end was stat leaders. So it's ironic we're talking about this. So something to loop back to here at the end. We'll kind of get back to that. All these weapons that you got. One thing that people shouldn't overlook beyond Worthy having the broken hand last year was the fact that in the first half of the season, he was pretty much on the same pace that he was the season prior. Him and Ewer still had a little bit of chemistry issues to start the season last year. But then you had Hudson Card playing most of the first half of the year. But I think the thing is, between all that and Xavier Worthy just being double, triple covered as much as he was last year, I'll say this, if teams want to double and triple cover them as much as they did last year, this fall, with all the other weapons that Texas has, go right ahead. Because, Texas is going to pick you apart any way you want that. Too many weapons. But, yeah, I think Worthy's bound to have a big season. I think the other big injury update was Jalen Catalon. Could he still be in a green jersey in the next few days? Sure. But the fact that, PK has enough confidence to talk about Catalon as much as he did and saying that he's ready to go, I think that's a good sign. Catalon was limited during the spring, a little bit during the summer. So sounds like he's heading in the right direction.
I think Catalon's going to be the difference between Texas having a lightning defense, meaning a defense that's really, really fast, and more of a bend, don't break defense, I think. The reason being, I think because of Catalon's speed, you can put him in so many different spots that he kind of speeds everything up. And it'll also make you more of I think Texas will be more attacking if they do that with Catalon. But he's the catalyst for that because Jaron Thompson is not that kind of safety.
Was there anything else that you heard from the coaches today before I talk about some of the position battles that kind of caught your eye or anything like that?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how PK numbered how many times Texas missed turnovers, that he knew that. I thought that was very telling, that he's very serious about creating turnovers because PK's defense usually does create a lot of turnovers. So I think he was very disappointed in that. I also thought it was interesting for Kyle Flood to say, we have 8 guys who are ready now. We don't have 10. These other guys have a lot to prove. And the fact that they're saying, in some ways, I expect Jake Majors to win that battle, but the fact that they keep talking about it tells me something's going on there. And they definitely want to get bigger on the inside. So, and also, you notice that Nato Umezulu was mentioned as one of those 8. So, the interior, I don't know how that's going to shake out, but I think it's going to be fascinating. But I do know that Kyle Flood likes his big boys, and Nato and Chris and DJ Campbell, they certainly fit that role, and as does Cole Hudson.
I think there's momentum with Cole Hudson to be the starting center right now. We're hearing a lot about DJ Campbell. Sounds like he looks the part. Can he put it together during fall camp?
That guy just when you watch now, he in pass protection, there are a lot of things you had to worry about with him last year. But man, in that Baylor game, he was moving guys in the run game. I was like, whoa. And Baylor wasn't small; those are big dudes, and he was just mauling people. I was like, okay, it's like I think it's like Doc says in Remember the Titans. I think we have ourselves a football player.
Yeah, people don't give Baylor the credit. They had one of the best interior defensive lines in the Big 12 last season. So that's not an easy situation to come into that he did. I'm in the camp right now. I'll go and get this out of the way. I think Cole Hudson's probably going to be the starting center week 1. And then once you have the center thing figured out, the rest of the pieces kind of fall into place. Before we get into position battles, though, I like that you mentioned PK's thing with the missed turnovers because he said that they forced 21 turnovers, forced 21 turnovers, only landed on or came up with 14 of them. So I guess some way he's looking to like dropped interceptions and forced fumbles that they didn't land on. So I know we talked about that a ton last season, that Texas just wasn't landing on the football a lot. It seemed like that improved down the stretch. I also think that, dropped interceptions were a pretty big thing last year. We saw like Jahdae Barron, Jaron Thompson, Terrence Brooks timing a lot of those balls well and just not catching them. And so, I mean, the hands have to be a little bit better from the defensive backs when they're in the position to make that play happen. So that'll be interesting to see. The last thing that I guess this was one more thing that kind of caught my eye was, PK really is keeping, and I guess this still kind of goes on the whole thing of position battles. He's really keeping everyone in the mix for that buck position. It sounds like, he specifically mentioned Ethan Berg, Jamon Tapp, and Justice Finkley, but he also said that Colton Vasek and Billy Bolton are in the mix as well. That was interesting.
It's their way of saying, I don't really know who the guy is yet, so there is no guy.
Let's go ahead and get into position battles here, and just, we'll just talk about the depth chart. We can kind of speed run a lot of this because I know we've talked about a lot of it already. Let's just say what we think it's going to be at the end of fall camp. QB, Quinn Ewers 1, Malik Murphy 2. You got any pushback there?
No, move on.
RB, I guess I mentioned that in my position battles just because Sark highlighted it today. Again, found that interesting after all the confidence he displayed in Jonathan Brooks at Big 12 Media Days. I'm still of the opinion, though, Jonathan Brooks, RB1. I'll go CJ Baxter, RB2, because I think Keelan's going to get a lot of reps, but, they're just going to use him as a chess piece as always.
Yes.
Okay. Field receiver. I think it's Worthy and then Jonte, 1-2. Agreed?
Yes.
Boundary, 81, Nayor 2, with both them getting a lot of reps together on the field at the same time.
I'm thinking.
I know you think that there's different ways that they're going to try to use them, so I don't know if you feel like Nayor is going to get.
I would be surprised if Mitchell isn't the starter there. I think he and Quinn Ewers have developed a really good rapport. But Nayor's really hungry. Never underestimate a hungry, talented guy who's also at 100%. Because this is something that's different. Troy O'Meara, he was also the talk of fall camp. Was that 3 years ago?
Yeah,
3 years ago.
2 times.
But then he came back, but when he came back, he was never really the same.
Right.
I noticed it was interesting to me that Sark said, "Oh, Nair's back and he's healthy and he's ready to go." That's not ever what we really heard from O'Meara. It was always like, "Well, yeah. Like." So I don't want to throw him under the bus and say he can't, get into the mix. I think he can. So.
Okay. The only one that I think could have a little bit of conjecture is slot, but even for that, I think it's Jay Witt 1, DeAndre Moore 2.
The only way I think there's a thing at slot is if Sark says Nair, Mitchell, and Worthy are the best 3. I have to play the best 3 and move like Whittington in as the 4th chess piece. Then you move Nair in as a slot. For people who think you can't have a guy that big playing slot, watch how Ohio State uses Marvin Harrison Jr. That's all I'll say on that. That's
fair. I just think Nayor's so good on the boundary that.
Well, I mean, but you can only have one guy on the boundary.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if Nair's so fast, and he's so big, he'll be a good miss. He's like a smaller tight end almost because he's that big. So.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, do you think Jay Witt, like just the regular alignment, Jay Witt 1, Demo 2, DeAndre Moore?
I think Moore is going to be really good in time. He's got some real separation ability.
Tight end. I think one side JT Sanders, the other Gunnar Helm. Dude, I think that
They're going to have to get Spencer Shannon reps, though.
Yeah, and then what isn't Bayouth the next one? Redshirt senior walk on? I think he's next up on the depth chart.
I guess so because
Juan Davis isn't.
Because Randall is hurt. So
yeah,
it'd be nice if we could get Juan Davis in the mix a little bit, but who knows?
Yeah, maybe him with Gunnar Helm. Okay, offensive tackles. We'll start with left. And I guess there's no conjecture among the starters. At left tackle, I'm going Kelvin Banks, backing him up. I'm going to say Peyton Kirkland. Right tackle, I'm saying Christian Jones, backing him up Cam Williams.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I for the most part, the depth chart is only really a question in the 3 interior spots on the offensive line, a little bit at safety and a little at cornerback. But basically, we know who the starters are everywhere else.
Right. Yeah, true. Left guard, Hayden Connor. Backing him up, God knows, there could be any number of combinations. I'll go Neto. Center, Cole Hudson. I'm going to say backing him up, Jake Majors. Connor Robertson. I'm going to say that's a 2A, 2B situation at that point. They're going to want to get Connor Robertson reps there still. Right guard, DJ Campbell. I'll say backing him up, Malik Ogbo. Any conjecture on any of those?
I don't think so.
Okay. Man, that was a quick run through the offense. Okay, defensive side of the ball. Buck. Baron Sorrell's the starter. Oh, geez. You know what? I'll pass that over to you. Back him up. I'm going to say Tap. But I don't.
It seems like, isn't Finkley working there now?
They've been getting him at both Buck and Jack.
Okay.
Spring, but I don't know if that's the plan for fall camp. I know they mentioned him in the battle for Buck. Wait, was that? Yeah, PK did mention him for Buck.
Okay, then I'd say he backs him up. I think he's more of a fit at Buck.
Yeah. So, okay, never mind. Then other side, Baron Sorrell. That means that they're working Ethan Burke at Buck. I'm gonna have to switch these around. Ethan Burke, I'm gonna say is the starter. Justice Finkley, the backup. That fair?
Yes.
Okay. Jack. Baron Sorrell's the starter. For the backup, that means that they're probably looking at like Dre Bledsoe maybe getting reps there. Yeah. I'm going to take Dre. I'll go with my first bold one. I'll say Dre Bledsoe's backing him up. What do you think? I think they want to get bigger there if that's the one.
Well, he's certainly going to be someone that needs to be ready when we go to the SEC. So that's not a bad call.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing Burke at Jack and Sorrell at Buck, and then I think Finkley will play a little of both.
Okay. Yeah, he's going to get rotated.
I have a feeling Bosick is going to play early.
I do too.
I think the spring was good to him, and he's kind of a natural.
Yeah. Yeah, him putting on weight, we've talked about that. So, yeah, he'll be in the mix too. I hope Tap makes a leap, but I just haven't seen it yet. Let's go to 3 tech, defensive tackle. Tavondre Sweat, clearly the starter. Alfred Collins probably is the backup there right now. Yep. I don't know who else would take that spot right now. And then at nose, I'm going to say Byron Murphy's the starter, obviously at nose. Who do you think's backing him up? At true nose, 0 and 1 tech, do you think that's more Sadir Mitchell or Trill Carter?
I think Sadir Mitchell is going to play out of necessity.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a 2A, 2B situation. It's not bad that you have both those guys, though. 2 big bodies up front. Mike linebacker, middle linebacker. Jalen Ford, obviously the starter. I've been high on Leona LaFau all
Oh, yeah,
offseason.
I mean, he was the heir apparent when he just showed what impressed me about LaFau was he looked like a guy who just knew what he was doing. It didn't look like anything was too big for him.
He's always been a natural in pass coverage too, which is a real bonus to have from a true freshman at middle linebacker. Also able to find the football. Two of the biggest things you would ask out of that position. So physically, as long as he looks the part, I think he'll be ready to go. Probably the biggest unknown for position battle, I think, where you have like two established candidates. That's Will linebacker. I've stuck to David Benda. The more I think about it, the more I coast to Mo Blackwell. So I'm gonna say I'm starting to lean away from Benda, but I'm still gonna have him at number 1, then Blackwell at 2. I know you think Anthony Hill could potentially start there.
I think the thing is Anthony Hill's probably going to be used kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
So he may not be a penciled in starter, but he will definitely be a force.
Yeah.
So I would say if they want to go really fast, if they want to be if one of their goals is we want to be a fast attacking defense, I think you have to put Mo Blackwell out there. Blackwell knows what he's doing and he makes plays whenever he's out there. He just doesn't he's one of those guys if he could just get a little bit bigger, but
yeah,
that's not in the cards apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're talking Sam linebacker, Anthony Hill 1. I mean, it's almost at this point more of a pass rush, exclusively like a pass rush specialist position. I want to give these guys some nods too, though. I think Darian Gillette and Tassili Akana could both have an impact there. I mean, more garbage time reps, but
I could see Tassili Akana being kind of how should I say, a situational pass rusher.
He's too small to come off the edge right now. He's 210, 6'4".
PK will find a PK has found smaller guys ways to get on the edge. So
especially those West Coast guys. Yeah, that's fair. All right, field corner. Another big position battle. This is tough to figure out the 2 deep.
Is it though?
I think so. I mean, I'm gonna go Terrence Brooks 1 and Gavin Holmes 2. I don't like it because I think Malik Muhammad is eventually going to push into that rotation. If not, I think he's going to move over to boundary for some reps there on the 2 deep.
I think Muhammad's going to play a lot. He's just too talented. But I would agree with that. Brooks is kind of the best compromise. But he's not a compromise. But he's kind of got the best of every corner. He's a big guy. He's fast, but not super fast. He can make plays. A good reader, things like that. So, I would expect him and Watts to be the starters on the corners, respectively. And I expect us to play a lot of bump and run coverage if that's the case, because they're bigger, stronger guys.
Yeah, well, and that benefits Muhammad too, because he's a pretty physical guy, can recover fast.
Yep.
Okay, so boundary corner. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll say Ryan Watts 1, Malik Muhammad 2, because I think there's a chance that they could cross-train Austin Jordan, especially if Gilbo doesn't make a leap this year. Field safety. I got Jaron Thompson 1. BJ Allen, I'll put in as 2 right now. Would you agree with that?
This is behind Catalan?
Oh, behind Thompson.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I think Larry Turner Gooden could play a role here. He's fast. He's a good athlete. How is he settling into the safety position? And then obviously you got Derek Williams, who I think is. Where do you think Derek Williams is the best fit? I've always kind of thought of him as a boundary safety, but.
I view him as a get him on the field and he will do something.
Okay. I mean, you could probably put him anywhere. Um,
That's precisely what I think.
yeah, boundary safety. This is kind of always what I've thought. Jalen Catalon 1, Derek Williams 2, and then nickel star position. Um, I'll go Jade Barron 1, Jalen Gilbo 2, and then I think that Austin Jordan and Warren Roberson could both figure in there if Gilbo's not healthy. I don't remember who it was the other day. It was one of the coaches. I think it was Sark that mentioned that Roberson's been getting reps at nickel. So
he's one of those. He's one of those Gary Patterson style players who's just knows how to play football. That was one of the things that Gary Patterson was. He didn't always get the flashiest athletes. He just got football players.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, guys with good game speed. They weren't bad athletes though. TCU always recruited decently well, still do. Special teams. I mean, you got Ryan Sanborn, new addition to the punting unit. We said I think that's a very positive addition. Jeff Banks also said he's going to be the kick holder this year. So there we go. I thought it was interesting that Banks specifically mentioned Will Stone as the most improved player of his units this offseason.
It shouldn't. Will Stone was one of his highlight recruit was one of the highlight signees that he's had. So, and we've seen Will Stone. Will Stone has a great leg. So it was always going to be the consistency for him.
I think he'll probably be the guy kicking off this year. You think he's going to replace Bert Auburn on field goals?
He'd have to earn that.
Yeah, Bert Auburn did pretty good last year. And then returning kicks. Let's have some fun there. Who do you want that to be?
Jaden Blue and Keelan Robinson.
Okay. I think Worthy could still be that guy returning, but yeah, Keelan Robinson, yeah, I'd love to see him all over the special teams unit. I think DeAndre Moore could be an interesting one.
I put Jonte Cook as the punt returner.
Okay. I guess Niblett you could also put on kick returns maybe. He's a guy that could probably make some things happen in space.
I do think Blue will get his time will come at running back because I think an injury is going to come in there somewhere. So he has to be ready.
Last thing I want to do here, I said I wanted us to predict stat leaders for the season. We can start. Let's start at rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. I'll let you have that.
Quinn Ewers passing, Jonathan Brooks rushing, Xavier Worthy receiving yards, A.D. Mitchell receiving touchdowns. Interceptions, Jalen Catalon.
Oh, okay.
And
what about sacks?
Sacks, Ethan Burke.
Ethan Burke.
Yes.
Okay. I think it'll be interesting.
I think Baron Sorrell is going to get doubled a lot more.
That's fair. Yeah, he's probably the easy answer. Rushing yards, I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks. Rushing touchdowns, I'm going to go C.J. Baxter.
I could see him being a big goal line guy. Yeah,
I'll agree with. I think I'm going receiving yards, Xavier Worthy, and then touchdowns. I'll go J.T. Sanders. I think A.D. Mitchell's probably going to have the best combination of the two. Like if you were doing like fantasy points, but I think Worthy's just going to get the ball in a lot of different situations. Interceptions, I'll go Jade Barron. And sacks, I'm going to go with a tie between Byron Murphy and Baron Sorrell. That's what I'll say. I think they both get 8.5. I think Byron Murphy could have a big season. 8.5 for interior defensive line, I guess, would be pretty ridiculous. That's probably a pretty bold prediction, especially for a nose. That's wild thinking about it, but let's roll with it. Do you have anything else you want to add to this before we? Okay. Nope. We were expecting to have Shane on here, so kind of did a quick flyover. position by position, but we've gotten some good fall camp conversation in here the last few weeks, and definitely we'll have more coming on the way. But fall camp's starting tomorrow, and what is it about? Probably going to be about a week and a half before we have our first fall scrimmage. So before we know it, pads will be on. Get ready for week 1. You got anything else, Tark?
Nope, but I'm ready to talk some real football now.
Yep. Getting back to it tomorrow for practice. Anyway, for Tarik LaCour, Andrew Miller, Hook'emHeadlines.com. That's pretty much it. Welcome.